What up? Peace, peace. What's good? Salute, salute. YouTube, what's going on, y'all? You know what I'm saying? Just on here, just about to break down the little theatrics and the BS. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to this, our so-called political system. You feel what I'm saying? It's about to drop a little knowledge real quick. You know what I'm saying? So what's good? What's good? Other than that, man, just posted like a thumbnail, you something. So yeah, man. So man. So as we know, man, you know what I'm saying. Democrats play the right, and I mean the Democrats and the Republicans both play sides, man. It's all theatrics. At the end of the day, two-party system, two wings of the same bird. You know what I'm saying? It'd be most of the time it's the same agenda that gets passed from these two parties. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. Like I was saying, you know, don't get fooled by it. You see what I'm saying? Don't get caught up in the games. You see what I'm saying? Don't get caught up in the games of the bullshit, man. That's all I gotta tell you. So look, you know, yeah. But other than that, man, about to break a little bit of this down. Got Jasmine Crocker. You got Warnock. You got these other cats, man. So you know what I'm saying? Just political shields. Ain't trying to do nothing for the black people, man. Ain't trying to do nothing for us at all. Basically just trying to do something for themselves, man. That's how I look at it. You know? Word. You know what I'm saying? So let me play a little clip real quick, man. All right, hold up, man. Let me do a little something real quick. Shout out to Sabby Sab. You see what I'm saying? Play a little clip of hers real quick. Salute to her. Check out her channel. You see what I'm saying? Check out Sabby Sab. Go like and subscribe.
We do have one more story again, and I still want you to remember the theme, which is it's all corporate. Because there seems to be this theme that I've noticed, in particular with the Democratic Party, is that you have Black Democrat politicians that are there to look like they represent Black voters, Black people, but they are operating to benefit other groups. Case in point, Raphael Warnock. Raphael Warnock is here with Zelensky, right? Look at him shining hard, just shining all hard. Raphael Warnock right here with Zelensky. Raphael Warnock was one of the candidates from Georgia who ran. And remember what Joe Biden told you? He said, if you guys vote for Warnock and Ossoff, I'll make sure you get those $2,000 checks. Wasn't $2,000. But that's where Warnock came from, right? And at that point, I believe for him, it was a special election. When there was a re-election, it was kind of close between him and Herschel Walker of all people. It was just ridiculous. But the point is this, folks. People voted for Raphael Warnock because they say he's going to go in there and he's going to fight for us. He's going to fight for the Black community. But that's not what Raphael Warnock has been doing. So you see, you have Raphael Warnock here schmoozing it up with Zelensky, and he tweeted this, not me. This is his own tweet. President Zelensky is an ally of our country who protects Americans' freedom by holding the line against an authoritarian regime. He doesn't bow to dictators, neither should our leaders. Okay. Is an ally of our country. Now, see, I want to take you back. Because when this war first started, myself, Garland Nixon, my comrades at RBN, we were one of the...
See now, It's all political theater because now all of a sudden Zelensky, now everybody mad at Zelensky now, and and Trump is cool. You know, he's always been cool with Putin, but now he's like, okay, I'm going with Putin, and you know what I'm saying, and I'm going against you, and then we all seen that stage fight the other day. That fight was staged, man. So I'm just like, it's all political theater, it's all theatrics. So now the narrative is we're not feeling Zelensky no more, and we're going with Putin. And so now all the Republican conservatives is with Putin, all the Democrat liberals is with Zelensky. I just think it's ridiculous, man. I mean, honestly, if people don't see past this, man, don't see the games in this, and that's on you. I just think it's kind of funny. You feel me? To be honest with you. Let's go.
A few that told you the truth about what was happening to Black people in Ukraine.
Rugged and warm, like the stories they tell.
And then, just in case you forgot, we can go back through the line, right? I remember what happened to the African students. Some of you may remember, some of you, it may be your first time hearing this. When the war first started, listen to what happened to the African students in Ukraine.
I was begging. The official literally looked me in my eye and said in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all. That if you are Black, you should walk. I'm currently in Debrecen, Hungary. I got in like 10 a.m. today. Today is the 28th of February. It wasn't easy. On Friday at 8 a.m., I was on my way to Poland. I took a commercial taxi and the taxi couldn't stay on the line of cars because literally cars have been there for 2 days. And when we dropped, on the Google map, it was saying a 1 hour walk. And I was like, a 1 hour walk is nothing, if it's getting us there on time. And we walked and it kept increasing. The term walking is traumatizing me. The term walking, I walked for 12 good hours, and it's not an exaggeration. The traffic warden saw me and said I should go to a shelter to sleep. And I slept, and he said the next day that there is a bus going from that shelter straight to the Polish border. And when it was time to get on this bus, the Ukrainians said, just Ukrainians, literally as a Black person. I even lied that I was pregnant. They didn't care. I was begging. The official literally looked me in my eye and said in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all.
That's all.
If you are Black, you should walk.
If you're Black, you should walk. Now, not everybody knew about this because the people with the larger platforms weren't telling this story. And I got to tell you guys, this is what I said before. You have Black politicians out there rubbing elbows with Zelensky, saying this is an ally, we got to protect them, and da-da-da. You are talking about, and I'm not talking about just racism. They are totally ignoring the Nazification in Ukraine. And I don't mean it's just a couple people that say, oh, this is what I believe. I'm talking about it's embedded into the culture. It's a problem. And I'll show you in just a second how our own Congress acknowledged that this was a concerning issue back in 2018. Let me let her continue.
And that was an additional 8 hours from where we were. By car, it was like 30 minutes. So we had to walk additional 8 hours. The problem isn't at the Polish border. It is at the Ukrainian border. Because you have to step out at the Ukrainian border to get on the Polish side. And the Ukrainians are only prioritizing their citizens. They don't care. They will push you. They will beat you. If you can make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. Like, I took a nap and I still felt like I was still walking, like I hadn't crossed over. over. It's not fair. Like we're just begging to go. I literally had to go back to my city after that experience, re-strategize, and took a train to Hungary. It wasn't even easy getting to Hungary. We had to pay. Those that didn't have money to pay, what would they do? I couldn't help anybody because I was fighting for my life. It is a traumatizing experience, and I don't know where I'm going from now. I literally have to re strategize in Hungary, try to get my ticket back to Nigeria because it's not safe. This place is not, if your skin is dark, you're at a disadvantage.
And that's what I was trying to warn people about. When there were even Black people who said, oh, I want to go sign up and volunteer. Now, fortunately, the Peace Corps did sound the alarm about that to people. And I want to go ahead and show you guys that because people didn't want to talk about this either. When this war started, the Peace Corps posted that as a Black person, you will run into issues in Ukraine. And I tried to tell people this before, as someone who has lived in Europe, you have to understand as you get further and further away from the West and you get to more of those Eastern European countries, it changes. It's different if you're Black and you go to Germany. It's different if they're used to seeing you. They see you, you know, there's military bases in Germany. They're not like, oh my God, it's a Black person. It's a little bit different, right? It's different if you're Black and you go to France. But as you start to move towards, like you're going towards Moldova and like Ukraine, it's a very different environment. Now, the Peace Corps tried to warn people about this. Atlanta Black Star even covered it. It said it does not justify it. Peace Corps guidance for Black volunteers in Ukraine caused a stir after being exposed on Twitter. Listen to this. Bring this up because they got a lot of heat for this. Peace Corps positions in Ukraine are currently not open, but Black Peace Corps volunteers who applied were warned to be prepared to be called the N-word and face other racist behavior while in Ukraine, according to guidance on the Peace Corps website that is currently being discussed on social media. Let me get into this a little bit more here. The warning, which includes personal accounts from volunteers, calls from having thick skin and an understanding that racial discrimination comes from Ukrainians' lack of exposure to Black people. It is not uncommon for Ukrainians to refer to African Americans as N-word. Volunteers of color may be called a monkey or may see children's games with Black face. So you see, when I pointed this out at the time, I was called a Putin puppet and all these types of names. And a lot of these other bigger channels on the left were not talking about this at.
Of course not, because that doesn't fit their narrative. You see what I'm saying? They want to call her that. But see, that lets you know how brainwashed people are, how invested people are into these theatrics. Even if you're going to be into politics, if you're going to be concerned and you're going to voice your opinion and you're going to contribute, whatever the case is, that's cool and everything. But at the same time, if you just going to fall for the theatrics and bullshit, and that says a lot about you, to be honest with you. And that says that you're not mature enough to even day to day just be. Maybe you should just take a break from not even being in politics and the little. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not for you, man. It's just like I look at it, man. It's just. I'm not going to get mad and upset and stuff over this because, you know what I'm saying, at the same time, these people don't know who I am. These people don't care. They're not doing nothing for the regular people. Trump got billionaires in his cabinet. People ain't looking at it. They're not people. If you think these billionaires have your best interest, then that's on you. And you can be deceived all you want. Just like these, you know what I'm saying? Any kind of rich person, they're not going to look at it from a poor person's perspective. They're not going to have no sympathy and empathy. They're just going to look at you like you should work harder or you should do this and that. And it's not even the case. It's about resources. It's different type of things to put different types of people in different type of places. You see what I'm saying? That's all that works. And most of the time, it's not about what you know, it's who you know anyway. I'm not even going to be naive about that. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of people are naive about that. You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
I'm gonna skip to this.
What is up, Daddy Gang, it is your founding father.
It was mainly Black commentators that were talking about this. Myself, Garland Nixon, my comrades at RBN, I think Gray Zone, I think Max Blumenthal touched on this a little bit on the Gray Zone, but they were ignoring this. This is incredibly important. This is what you were getting yourself into. Being aware of the history of dehumanization for people of African descent may help inform where this comes from. It does not justify it. It will be at your discretion to determine the intent. The warning builds on recent reports of discriminations against African students in Ukraine choosing to study in their country for a cheaper living and more accessible education. So there's one other part here that I want to mention. It says here, Black volunteers may face far more complicated issues. According to accounts of unnamed volunteer, the organization blames the discrimination on Ukrainians' lack of exposure of Black people. The understanding of African-American culture is fueled by the media and African stereotypes. And to all of this, it makes people like Raphael Warnock look like a clown. That's why people don't want to get into all of this.
That's another one. Raphael Warnock. It's another one of these Democrats, man. These sellouts, man. I'm not saying all these Democrats. Well, if you letting this happen, Democrat or Republican, if you letting all this go down, you're a sellout to me. It don't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. But I'm just saying Democrat because that's supposed to be the base in the group that's supposed to be does stuff for so-called Black people. So that's the only reason why I mentioned that.
It make you look like an Uncle Tom. It's a hot mess. A hot mess. And to make it worse, there was a letter. The letter went out in 2018. Now, as you can see here, this is Rocana, 17th District, California. Hold on. Okay. April 23rd, 2018. This was during Trump's first term. This letter was addressed to the Honorable John Sullivan. This is from the House of Representatives. If this is the first time you have seen this letter, in the chat, say first time. I'm curious. We're not going to read the whole thing, but there's one part you really do need to see. Look at this. Deputy Secretary Sullivan, we write to express our dismay about recent reports of state-sponsored Holocaust distortion and denial taking place in Europe, particularly in Poland and Ukraine. These developments are unacceptable, especially given today's global surge of anti-Semitism. Listen to this. We urge you to join us in human rights organizations in standing against anti-Semitism, xenophobia, and all forms of intolerance by calling for Polish and Ukrainian governments to unequivocally reject Holocaust distortion and the honoring of Nazi collaborators. 2018, this letter went out to John Sullivan from the House of Representatives. Listen to this part right here. Ukraine 2015 memory laws went even further to glorify Nazi collaborators and making it a criminal offense to deny their heroism. However, unlike Polish law, this move by the government in Kyiv has received little to no public response from the United States. The groups and the individuals extolled by Ukraine include Nazi collaborators. This is Stepan Bandera, Roman Shavikolik, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, and the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists, as well as the Ukrainian Insurgent Army, which I just showed you from Margaret Kimberly's article. So, the same people that many of us in independent media that were trying to warn people about Ukraine were telling you about, Congress had already mentioned those people in this 2018 letter. And what is hilarious to me is that a lot of people and even so-called independent media don't know about this letter, or they know about it and they're not talking
That goes against the narrative. They're not going to say nothing about it.
about it.
Why would they?
In 2018, they were asking John Sullivan, we are very concerned. Look at this. It's particularly troubling that much of the Nazi glorification in Ukraine is government supported. But here they sit today when you bring this up and you mention this to the politicians, you mention it to the House of Representatives. When people brought this up during the Biden administration, they said that's false. That's not true. We don't know what you're talking about. Let's see who signed this letter. You see, they think people forget, right? Because look, Ro Khanna, we'll point out some of the people you guys may know. Gerald Nadler, Adam Smith, Mark Pocan. Who else do we have? I'm just pointing out some of the ones you may know. Pramila Jayapal, Jamie Raskin. All these people tried to play dumb. It's a game, fam. Look at this. Eleanor Holmes Norton, Brenda Lawrence, Matt Cartwright, James McGovern. Out of sellouts. Actually, Cory Booker's number one. We'll put him at number 2. Wesley Bell is new.
So Wesley Bell, this is another one of these new Democratic shield sellouts that that just goes all in and goes all out for Israel, but there's nothing for the so-called people, right? Let's go.
But he did the lowest of the lowest of the low, because he got that seat from Cori Bush because he was willing to sell his soul to AIPAC. And here he is right here. Another one. Look who's spreading the message. It's coming from AIPAC. Thank you, Wesley Bell. All right. Listen.
They be using these people up, man. That's why I don't have none of them. None of them are for me. None of them are for you. The misleaders, man.
Listen to this.
Congressman Wesley Bell here. So happy to be here supporting our Jewish brothers and sisters. This relationship is so important because it is vital that we stand by our fellow democracies. So I'm proud to support our Israeli brothers and sisters. I'm proud to stand with our allies, and it's just so important that we work together and continue to build on such a strong relationship.
Work together to do what? Right? So let me get this straight, fam. Wesley Bell sold his soul to AIPAC. And here he is speaking up for protecting Israel. And the way that he got there was by kicking a black woman out of her seat. Let me say this again, folks. Wesley Bell sold his soul to AIPAC to kick a black woman out of her seat so that he can go to Congress and fight for Israel. Because that's what this is really about, fam. Okay. So not everybody who is there that you can point to and say that's representation is there fighting for issues that are part of the black community. Most of them are there to put Israel first. That includes Jim Clyburn too. You put him in that same category because you live in one of the poorest districts in this country, but you live in just fine. They're sellouts. They're not there to help black issues. They're not there to elevate black voices. They are there to make you think you have someone there to represent you, but their agenda is Israel first. Now, I had many criticisms of Cori Bush not pushing back on Dem leadership as much as I wanted her to. Actually, all the squad members. But she was one of the first ones to stand up for Gaza. She was one of the ones who was still talking about defunding the police because that is something that directly affects her district. That being said, AIPAC sat up here and they used another Black person against her. So when we talk about how we're going to improve things for people in this country, in particular Black people in this country, one of the things that we got to come to acknowledge right off the bat, we can't fall for these tricks where other people are using Black people to work against other Black people.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened with Wesley Bell. He's a sellout. Him, Hakeem Jeffries, who's the other? Cory Booker?
What's the Jasmine Crockett too? All of them, Al Green, all of them.
Booker, Raphael Warnock, these people are sellouts and they're clowns. And you have to start calling them what it is. Stop being nice to them. Stop trying to take a picture and be their buddy. Stop all of this. They're not there for you. And if you just look at the money trail, you can see it as clear as day. Look at this. He sold his soul. This dude, and you're new, he's new. Already getting over 12 million. That's how much. And even some of the older members of Congress didn't get that much. That's how much they bought him for. So you're not free if you're still being bought, okay? Say it with me, ladies and gentlemen. You think you're free? You're not free if you're still being bought. And that's exactly what they did to Wesley Bell. They bought you, but Wesley went along with it because Wesley wanted that job. Wesley wanted to be up in DC and have that seat. Wesley was willing to take the nod and go along with white supremacy. And yes, Israel is a supremacist project. He was willing to go along with it to kick a Black woman out of her seat. So no, if you thought that Wesley was going to be there to fight for the Black community, no, he was never there to fight for you. He was sent there to fight for Israel. They put him up against her because she went against Israel. And they said, we'll find a Black person who will say, yes, master. And that person was Wesley. They're sellouts. This man should be really ashamed. Raphael Warnock can be ashamed, but this guy should be really, really ashamed.
I mean, he got the $12 million. He ain't tripping.
But he's not. He just want to be part of the club. Sell out, sell out.
Shout out to That'd Be Sad. Check out her channel. You know what I'm saying? Salute. That'd Be Sad, man. Go like, subscribe to her channel, man. We're gonna get into what's his name too. We'll get into Al Green. We're gonna get into how Trump and them talking about they don't want no censorship, but then they censor Congress. They censor Al Green. It's funny, all right. Even though Al Green's a clown and they doing all that, they're not doing any of this for Black people, for the sake of Black people, so-called, mind you. All right, hold up. Let's go.
You're not supposed to be cringy. That was cringy. So is this by Representative Jasmine Crockett, who I think is 42 years old, not 28. Someone should have told her that before she dropped this video before the State of the Union or joint address to Congress last night. Watch.
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Think it on it like that.
Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like fuck. Bust that on a beat, bro. Deep boat in the
Doing a little
rap.
Kendrick Lamar dance.
Man down, call like Ember Lambs. Tell them breathe.
Two
Let them
backups.
boys to the cross, they walk around like peas. What's up with these?
I will say that version's better than the one that Dick Durbin did. I don't know if you saw that one, but hers
What?
is better. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. I just
I mean, I just think she's just doing this. This is clout. You know, they talk about this and that for people, but she's worth $9 million. The salary's only like $100-something thousand a year. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah, how do you have $9 million though? You see what I'm saying? But that's from her Angie List donors. You see what I'm saying? That's the people behind the people, man. It's these donors. We got to realize it's people that are giving these people money, man. A lot of contributions, political campaigns. You see what I'm saying? Hold up, let me play something real quick. Jasmine Crockett. If I wanted to, let's see. Wanted to get Tariq kind of broke it down pretty good. She's just a clout chaser. It's all for clout. They got her there to go at Marjorie Taylor Greene. They got Marjorie Taylor Greene to go at her. It's just all about, it's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? At this point, it's just all clout. It's clout chasing. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I can't take none of it seriously. I can't be emotionally upset or invested in any of this because I see that it's political theater. I see all this is political theater. Trump, Zelensky, everything. Nothing is left out. You see what I'm saying? Nothing is excluded when it comes down to this. This is all one big psyop. You see what I'm saying? All this is to make it seem like they're gonna do so much stuff for the people when they're not. You know what I'm saying? They're doing stuff for the billionaire donors. Look who's around them. There were a bunch of billionaires. I mean, these people aren't even millionaires; they're billionaires. So I mean, they really look down on people in the everyday working man. You see what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I can't take these people seriously. I won't. For me to, and I'm really not gonna think that they're gonna do anything for Black people. They're not gonna push no reparations. Like her and Al Green and them talking about Medicare and which that's important. But at the same time, you're not gonna push nothing for anything that has anything to do specifically for us. It's crazy, you know. You interrupt, you know, speeches and stuff like that, and it's crazy, man. But it's theatrics, you know. It's all a game. It's really kind of funny if you think about it. All right, so hold up.
Talking about we all Black. It shouldn't be lineage based. What about Black and brown? I'm an immigrant, but I'm still Black. You got too much of that, family. And listen, let's look what's going on, what we're seeing. A lot of these reparations hearings now, they're being designed to kind of drag us along until the next election cycle. It's like they're going to keep kicking the can and just keep dangling that in front of us.
But that's always been like that. That's always the game. To keep you distracted, to keep you hit with a bunch of symbolism until the next, 4 years, and then they're going to hit you with the Democrat and vote Democrat. And if you don't vote, they're going to shame you if you don't vote Democrat. It's just all, I don't understand how we think that there's going to be anything new under the sun with the Democrats or the Republicans.
Until the next election cycle, which is what they did in California. They sat up there, dangled the carrot, and then right before the election cycle, or right before the election, they all crashed out and said, "Oh, we couldn't come to an agreement. We're going to have to do something else." After we done went back and forth, getting the language right, getting the paperwork right. So there's a lot of kicking the can down the road and political theater going on with these reparations hearings that we're going to have to start calling out, family. You dig? Because basically they're being
But see, we talk about reparations, but the people that we elect, you see what I'm saying? They don't be for it. None of them, Democrats, Republicans, the people in these governors don't be for it. So it's like, we got to really start our own thing, to be honest with you, man. Aggregate our money, put our money together, man, and come up with something for ourselves, man. If not, it's just like that's on us. I mean, to be honest with you, it's on us. It's on us. You know what I'm saying? We got to get ourselves out of this, man. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. Let's go.
Designed to distract, delay, diffuse the reparations demand, and just keep doing this until election season to keep stringing us along. And there's several tactics we got to look for what they're doing. This constant inclusion of non-FBA groups. Every time Foundation of Black Americans, we push for reparations, these hearings start talking about other groups that, well, everybody had to deal with racism. What about me? I'm Black, but I'm from Zimbabwe. All of that stuff, that's intentional. That is intentional. We got to stop them from doing that. We got to start shutting that shit down. Then they start shifting focus away from cash payments. You go to these hearings and the first thing out of the people's mouths who's on the board, well, reparations ain't always got to be about a check because, we went through so much. It's you can't put a price on our suffering. No, when y'all hear that, when y'all start hearing that stuff, watch out, get up and say, okay, this is not legitimate. We got to delegitimize some of these meetings because these are signs of sabotage. Yeah. Reparations is about money. It's about us getting money. Damn all of that stuff. Everything else can walk. Yeah, when they get to talking about symbolic gestures, no, what we need, educational programs, community healing. When they start talking all that stuff, we got to watch it. We got to watch that, ladies and gentlemen. We got to watch that. Yeah. And
live your biggest life in the new GMC Acadia.
All of this elevating these non-FBA voices to speak on reparations and be on the board. That's the problem. Every time I see a reparations board, you start looking at the people on the board, they're Caribbean or African.
See?
That's a problem, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a good point.
That is a damn problem. We're going to have to make sure FBAs are on these boards. And we got to be serious about that shit. We sitting up here with all of this data, all of this information, all of this research, and you got some tether sitting up there who ain't gonna pass it. They know they ain't gonna pass it. They already know in advance what they ain't gonna do.
Oh yeah.
They're sitting up, they can't wait to vote no. We got to stop having these tethers on these reparations task forces. We got to look and see who's on the board. In New York, it's full of tethers on there. That's why nothing gets done. I know they had some tethers down there, the one in Atlanta, and she got up and crashed out. That big Jamaican mammy got up there cursing everybody out because she put her daughter up there and her daughter was rambling and they were like, hey, what's she talking about? That's my child. That's my child. Leave my child alone, and just acting a fool, crashing out at the damn hearings. Yeah. And look, and we got to expect it. Look, this is a serious topic. Look, they had a straight up and down ops. They had informants and the whole shebang at the one out here in California, the one up there in San Francisco. That shit, they were on that get your hand out my pocket, Malcolm X. It was a bunch of ops in there. Some of those ops be in these rooms here too, by the way. So, this is why we got to be very serious about this thing. We got to be extremely serious. You see?
Agreed. Hold up. We'll play a little bit more of this and I'm gonna go into
And what they like to do all of these vague and non-committal resolutions. They don't have no actionable plans. And they have a whole bunch of toothless resolutions filled with words like study, explore, review, consider, watch those words. You hear those words, walk out of the room, tear the paper up. I'm telling you, every little word matters. Watch these words. These little vague ass words. No. When I see any of these documents or paper, I'm always looking for a dollar sign. Where's the numbers? I'm looking for a number. Because all of these other
facts. Man, shout out to Tariq Nasheed. Check him out, man. So he's right, man. Let me get into another Professor Black Truth real quick, man. Let him talk about these damn sellouts real quick. Break that shit down real quick. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. You know, don't offer you no tangibles. Don't fight for you. Don't stick up for you. Don't none of that. Don't they're not gonna have them or let them use them as a political voice for any of that. They're not the political voice for I don't know maybe for these other people of color or minorities or these vague terms of so I don't know. I'm just not feeling none of it. My bad.
You don't do it just to get yourself a couple of headlines and try to win the news cycle. You do it as the first step toward getting a policy slate on the agenda. Let people know that there's an issue here that needs to be seen to. And then from there, once you've gotten attention focused on the issue, you got people talking about it. Now it's time to talk about what we're going to do about it. And here's some legislation that we're going to be putting up for a vote. See, the Democrats knew what the Republicans were doing when you had Chris Rufo and others, all of these paid crisis actors go into these school boards screaming and yelling as they had been practicing and rehearsing to do. They weren't just doing it as a one and done attention stunt. They were doing it because there was a political program at work. There was an agenda that was about to play itself out. The wealthy, racist white donors of the GOP had already figured out exactly what laws they wanted to put on the books, but first they wanted to go ahead and manufacture a phony rationale for it. So they had some paid crisis actors go to these school boards and screaming, oh my God, you're sitting here hurting white children's feelings. And then on cue, here come the racists in the Florida legislature saying, and we have a law that's going to go ahead and outlaw this. Well, what's it going to outlaw? No more teaching about slavery. And black people, we don't want to even mention the black people at all. And you better not ever say that anyone's ever been oppressed. Well, how are you going to teach American history without saying that the British oppressed the colonists? Well, that doesn't matter. This is about black people. See, they already knew that they were setting up a legislative play. That's what the white rights political theater at those school boards was about, because they wanted this to be the first step toward them using school policy as what we have seen ultimately would become national policy if they could manage it, at least statewide policy. We're going to start off with claiming that we're going to make changes in the schools, then from there, and now we're going to do it throughout the rest of the state. They already knew what they were going to be doing from the beginning. Why are Democrats not out here shutting them down? Democrats should be doing the same. They have a far better case than any lies the Republicans could tell. And yet the Democrats ain't doing anything about it. And these shills that you see, they're not saying anything about that either. So what does that tell you? Now, there's also another subject that needs to be covered in this morning's briefing. Ben Shapiro is desperately trying to get what little notoriety he thought he had back. He's taken a page from Tucker Carlson's playbook, and on Shapiro's so-called website, he's published what he calls a letter saying that he wants Derek Chauvin to be given a federal pardon. And Elon Musk, being who and what he is, he decided to retweet this on X and say that this is something that needs to be looked into. And since Musk is the actual president of the United States these days, it remains to be seen whether or not he's going to use his pardon powers to go forward with something of this nature. The shills have been using this particular development as their little political football, so let me go ahead and address this one directly. Derek Chauvin was convicted in both federal and state court. His federal conviction, even if it was pardoned, it wouldn't get him out of prison even one day sooner because he still has to serve his entire state sentence. But here's the real crime. So even if the orange man does give Chauvin a pardon, it's not going to get him out of prison because he still has to serve his state time regardless. But here's the real problem. When Chauvin was convicted at the federal level, Biden's DOJ refused to demand that his federal sentence run consecutively with his state sentence. In other words, instead of him basically serving both sentences at the exact same time, what they should have done is to demand that after he served his state time, he must also serve federal time. That would have given him a minimum of 40 years in prison. That's what should have happened. But the Biden DOJ didn't do that. The same way when it came time to sentence Ahmaud Arbery's murderers, the Biden DOJ did not demand a consecutive sentence either. They did not make a stink in the courtroom and say, you, judge, you have to sentence these people consecutively. But then again, when Biden's DOJ prosecuted the January 6th insurrectionists, it was the judges who were asking the U.S. attorneys why they weren't demanding harsher sentences. It was the judges asking, why are you guys going with these lowball charges? Biden's DOJ was more interested in just being able to say so-and-so was convicted.
Yeah, both sides do it. Both sides. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You got the right that even, that, it's all political theater. Now they talking about Derek Chauvin freeing him and giving him a pardon, really? You see what I'm saying? Once again, people on the right doing that, right? The few, the more of the race. It's just all a game to me, from what I see. Right? It's politics, and then why, and see, Biden's DOJ didn't run it all concurrent, or refused. You see what I'm saying? So it's all so to where you kind of get like less time, like, you see what I'm saying? I mean, that's why I don't fight and argue about what side is better, Democrat, Republican, because it's all bullshit. They're all put in there not to serve you, to serve the shadow government and the billionaires that fund them. That's just all how it is. That's all there is to it. All there is to it, man. I mean,
as opposed to making sure that they got hit with the right amount of prison time that they were supposed to get. Seems that whenever the offender is the right color, it's never the wrong time to give them a slap on the wrist. But you know what? The prospect of the orange man giving a pardon to Derek Chauvin of all people, that's precisely the kind of outrage that the Democrats would like to see happen, exactly because of the fact that it would ignite huge amounts of public outrage against the orange man without the Democrats having to promise to do anything. See, it would be one thing if the Democrats were pointing out that they're going to make sure that there's not going to be any more Derek Chauvins running around free. But then again, isn't that what the Democrats said back in 2020? Whatever happened to the George Floyd Policing Act? Whatever happened to Joe Biden's much ballyhooed White House-level Police Accountability Commission? Well, we know what happened with the so-called Police Accountability Commission. The instant that Biden was declared the winner of the 2020 election, he immediately said, I don't have time for it. Congress should handle it. And of course, Nancy Pelosi and the boys said, well, we don't have time to do it either, so we'll just have to get back to you about it. And as for the George Floyd Policing Act, nothing was done on that.
Exactly.
So all of you shills who are upset at the process.
That's why, I can't. None of them are interested, in fair, in accountability, in on either side. So that's why I don't, that's why I'm like, I'm good, I'm thanks but no thanks. Me feeling a certain kind of way or expressing emotions and anything in me this shit is not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen ever. You see what I'm saying? So I already know what it is, you know what I'm saying? In this day and age, man, we got to actually try to bring the people together, man. And if that's not going to happen, then let's not even, just fuck it. We should live our lives. Because that just seems like what it is, right? They got us so divided on so many different kind of things. It's kind of interesting. Let's go.
Prospect of Chauvin getting a federal pardon, I'd like to know why the world it is that you never pressed Joe Biden and the Democrats about why they didn't fulfill any of the alleged police oversight measures that they ran and campaigned on, and why it is that you're not demanding that the Democrats run on it now. If you were really serious, that's what you would be doing. Because whenever Republicans call themselves doing their performative extremism, whether it be giving pardons to murderers like Daniel Perry, or whether it be them deciding to write some racist law aimed at black people, you never see the Democrats do anything about it. They don't retaliate politically, and they don't do anything to protect black people at all. No legislation, not even a policy speech. Nothing. When Democrats and the MSNBCs and the CNNs were spending the last 4 years going into hysterics about Trump's going to be the next Hitler, why is it when they were talking nonstop about all the terrible things that he's going to do, outlawing abortion nationwide, pardoning the January 6th rioters, shutting down what they see as important government offices, persecuting the media and his political opponents, why is it that in the list of horrible things Trump would do, the white left media never, not even once, mentioned the possibility that he could be pardoning these race soldiers like Derek Chauvin? Why didn't they point out any of the killer cops who have federal convictions that Trump would have the ability to pardon?
Exactly, because they all in on it. They all don't give up. You know what?
Why didn't they make that an issue? Or anyone who's been convicted on federal charges for harming a black person at all, like the murderers of Ahmaud Arbery. For 4 years straight, none of these white liberals were very worried that Trump, if put back in the White House, would begin trying to give pardons to race terrorists, as if they had been told by DNC headquarters, stop sloganeering, stop saying defund the police, stop sitting here criticizing the police. That cost Jamie Harrison his election. Here's what I want to know. Why is it when Biden was giving out pardons, he didn't say a word of support for Assata Shakur? Republicans boldly give pardons to race killers like Daniel Perry down in Texas. Why are Democrats not doing anything to retaliate by pardoning people who the Republicans want to see remain in prison? Why aren't you shills doing that either? When Biden was in office, when did he give even one major or even minor policy speech saying that the police must be punished? That police and sheriff's departments cannot get one more penny until they put stringent measures in place to punish, fire, and decertify these criminals with badges.
Because that's not on the agenda. You know what I'm saying? That goes against the agenda and the narrative. And it will forever go against the narrative, especially in the United Snakes of America, man.
It makes no sense to whine about Trump and the Republicans being the racists that we know them to be, when the only reason that they can even act like this is because Democrats aren't doing anything about it. Every time we put the Democrats in charge, they act just like the Republicans, only without the openly racist rhetoric. You shills say we need to vote the Republicans out. And my question is, okay, and replace them with what? More of Obama, who sat on his hands while black people were being slaughtered in the streets? Obama's own friend, Henry Skip the Truth Gates, got assaulted in his own home by a police officer. And what was Obama's response to his friend being attacked by a cop in his own home? Being forced to have to walk on that lame handicapped leg of his because the cop didn't care. What was Obama's response to that? He invited the thug in question to the White House to drink beers with him. He rewarded him with a visit to the White House after he assaulted his friend. He told Skip Gates, you need to sit here and have a beer with me. I got to think about my poll numbers. I'm trying to run for re-election in a few years, so I don't want any problems now. Sir, got to make sure we keep them white suburban votes happy. Don't want no problems. That's what Obama did. No Democrat has ever or would ever say that if you're not punishing the police for the crimes they commit, then you are soft on crime. No Democrat would ever say that. Obama didn't, and he did nothing about the Flint water crisis either. He didn't prosecute anyone for that. You're so concerned about Elon Musk and Donald Trump violating environmental regulations. They've been doing it the whole dang time. In places like Michigan, places like Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Virginia, they've been doing it the whole time. And Democrats have done nothing about it. Oh, there's going to be race criminals out here looking to harm black people. Well, when Obama was in office, how did he respond to the Mother Emanuel Church massacre? He came to town and sang a couple of bars of Al Green. He didn't declare war on white nationalists. He didn't make an issue of it. He did nothing but spout some empty words, hot air. Why? Because that murder happened just before the next election cycle was going to happen in 2016, and he definitely didn't want to make race an issue so that Hillary Clinton would have any stumbling blocks in her path to the presidency. All he could think about was his legacy. And what was his legacy going to be? That he was going to have 12 uninterrupted years of Democrat control of the White House, if he could just set it up the right way. And how would he set it up? By making sure that he didn't offend any of those racist white voters in the heartland by going after the white nationalists who are harming black people. And we really don't need to talk about how Kamala Harris is no alternative to the Republicans. When she was the Attorney General of California, she fought tooth and nail to prevent public defenders from getting access to the disciplinary records of dirty cops. And then she fought tooth and nail to prevent California State Police from having to wear body cameras. This is what she did in a blue state. And then she went and lied about it every day that she was in the Senate and the White House and during her failed presidential campaign. See, this is what they were doing before Trump even thought about getting into politics. Or maybe we should replace the Republicans with someone like Joe Biden, who wrote the '94 crime bill and spent the better part of 50 years taking every racist dig that he could at black people. Joe Biden, who I believe illegally diverted COVID money to the police, which, by the way, is not where we're supposed to go. If you want to have money sent to the police, you're supposed to do that through a formal vote through Congress. But he did that as a way to bypass having to force the Democrats to go on the record voting to give money to the thugs in blue. That's why he did it that way. The same way that Biden, who, without being asked, interjected his administration into a Supreme Court case on the side of the police in order to weaken Miranda protections. So this is who we're supposed to be voting for as an alternative to the Republicans. Again, if you want to replace the Republicans, I'm fine with that. But what I want to know is if the replacement's going to be any different. Because if your solution is to put these Democrats in charge, then that means there will be no difference. Where's the Democrats at to vow to be our retribution? Where are the Democrats at to vow that so long as they're in charge of this or that state, then none of these race killers are going to be getting a pardon? See, Republican governors have no problem running on that platform. Oh, we got some nigger who got arrested and charged for harming a white person allegedly. Well, we're going to run on the promise that as long as we're in office, this nigger's not getting out. Who do you see anywhere in America? What Democrat governor or mayor, any other sort of politician do you see in America saying that as long as we're in charge, none of these race killers are going to be getting out of prison? Where are they at? You don't see them. You never see them because they don't exist. You see, Democrats never run on a platform promise of, hey, this white supremacist over here who harmed this black person, you vote for us, we're going after him. We're going to be bringing a case. We're investigating so-and-so. Oh, this guy got put away for harming a black person. Well, as long as we're in charge, they're not getting out of a cage. They don't do that. Though you did have a Democrat, Kevin Steele, who ran on a campaign promise that he was going to prosecute Bill Cosby. And then as we all saw, he broke the law, violated the Constitution in order to engineer a conviction against an innocent man. That's what did happen. Now, you see, Democrats did run on that campaign promise. Now, tell me, when's the last time you've had the Joy Reids or the Roly-Poly Martins or any of these clowns and sock puppets on MSNBC or CNN or these alleged black media outlets like The Griot and The Root and others? How many of them remind you that Kevin Steele's a Democrat? See, it was the black media who made it a point to remind you that all of these DAs who were sitting here letting killers go and making sure not to prosecute the police and lying through their teeth and claiming there's nothing they could do, they were lying the whole time. These are Democrats by and large in a lot of these cases. That was certainly the case with George Floyd's murder. The local Democrat prosecutor there didn't want to bring the case. Amy Klobuchar, who's currently a U.S. Senator from Minnesota, when she was the prosecutor in Hennepin County, she refused to prosecute Derek Chauvin. She had a case against him then, back in 2006. Could have taken this animal off the streets then, but instead she decided, you know what, I'm not doing anything, kick the can down the road. I'm trying to seek higher office, and after all, we got to stay on the good side of the police unions because, you know, the cops do such a dangerous job. So you had prosecutor after prosecutor, one Democrat after the other, who had opportunities to put this animal away and refused to. And you'll recall that the mayor down there, Jacob Fry, he was siding with the police. Even after the public shamed him in an unprecedented display of humiliation, he still decided that he was going to be on the side of the thugs in blue. And the Democrats, they sided with Jacob Fry. Instead of telling him, hey, we can't give you any money, we can't endorse you, we don't even want you calling yourself a Democrat for what you've done. Instead, they backed him, they funded him, and he was able to win re-election in 2022 with the active support of the DNC. And what's Jacob Fry been up to? Well, as I've documented for you on this channel, every time the police commit some crime, he's sitting there backing them, not doubling down, but tripling down on his support for the thugs in blue. This is the reason that the Tucker Carlsons are emboldened to say, tell that governor in Texas he needs to let Daniel Perry go.
You know, it's all a game, man. It's all political theater. And then for the most part, people don't see the games that both sides play, man. And it's sad. That's how I just look at it, like from a couple of different perspectives, a couple of different angles. Like, wow, you know, we're gonna get caught up into this, you know, political and emotional theater, man, psychological BS. You see what I'm saying? We're gonna keep getting caught up. It's like, okay, when are we gonna learn from it? I don't know. I guess never.
And this is the reason why Ben Shapiro feels emboldened as well, because they have not seen any retaliation for the Democrats at any level. And that's because the Democrats, as I've documented for you, are on the side of the race soldiers. So you shills sound dumb as hell talking as if the Democrats somehow don't want these killer cops on the loose. The Democrats were the reason why they were on the streets to begin with. And if the Democrats had their way, there would have been no prosecutions. And as Jim Clyburn stated, as far as he's concerned, he doesn't want to hear about defunding the police or punishing the police at all. That's bad politics. You sound dumb as hell acting as if the Democrats would side with you when it comes to Derek Chauvin. As far as they're concerned, they can't forget about that fast enough. Right now, Democrats are the ones who, on the one hand, are yelling about the same old political issues. And on the other hand, you got Democrats now openly, actively plotting how to silence the very people like ourselves who are making demands of them. Both of these political positions by the Democrats have one thing in common: boldly and aggressively ensuring that Democrats do nothing for us. Not one of them is saying we have to make sure that these race soldiers are put in prison and stay in prison. We need new laws to punish the police. We need to have restrictions on the idea of giving pardons to the police. Nobody's talking about that. No legislation like that. No policies. And none of you shills talking like that either. They're not running on a platform of punishing the police now any more than they did in 2020 or in 2020.
That's true. And they won't. Shout out to Professor Black Troop, man. Salute, man. You know, like and subscribe to his channel. Definitely right. These Democrats ain't no better. They don't fight for you anymore. The Republicans ain't trying to do nothing for you, and the Democrats are trying to act like they are, and they're on your side when they don't do nothing for you. When they do for everything around everybody, they do for everybody but you. You see what I'm saying? That's the game. That's the bait and switch game. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this Gavin Newsom over here, switching his stance on trans and making these weird
Governor Newsom's
laws in California before to make it to where you could be 12 and have a sex change, but then look at his stance on trans. It's all game. So fair use. All right.
New podcast launched today, and he spoke about transgender athletes competing on girls and women's sports teams. That conversation was with conservative pundit Charlie Kirk.
Look at Charlie Kirk, another piece of shit. Wow. Let's go.
And people are reacting.
That's how I told y'all these people are on the same team. You, a Democratic mayor, you know, you have a podcast and you have a conservative racist like Charlie Kirk on your platform. Wow. Interesting. They're all the same people.
To what the governor said.
They're all the same.
NBC4's Jonathan Gonzalez has that story.
We need to change the conversation.
In the first episode of his new podcast, This is Gavin Newsom, the governor sat down with his very first guest, conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, and the fallout is
Look at this guy, piece of shit, racist mother. See, why would you have anybody like that on your platform? That just goes to show you are who you invite on your platform. You know what I'm saying? You are who the company you keep. You feel me?
It's just beginning for Newsom's statements to Kirk about the trans community and women's sports.
But would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports? Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that.
Newsom, who could run for president in 2028, appeared to agree with Kirk's argument about what he called an unfair advantage of trans women playing in women's sports. Kirk is a longtime ally of President Trump, who has issued executive orders limiting the rights of trans Americans. But Newsom told Kirk he doesn't agree with the GOP's rhetoric on the
bullshit, man. All of it is. I'm telling you, it's all BS. I don't get caught up into none of this shit, man. It's all game.
Trans community.
So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well.
Still, Newsom's comments came as a surprise to many within his own party, including Assemblymember Chris Ward, who heads the California legislature's LGBTQ caucus.
Left us incredibly disgusted and distraught, seeing that somebody who's been an ally for our community and has taken a lot of very strong stands use something that really aligns with regressive MAGA Republican narrative and talking points.
Back in 2013, the legislature passed a bill enshrining protections for trans Californians, including the ability to play the sport that aligns with their gender identity. And Newsom has long championed the rights of the LGBTQ plus community. As San Francisco's mayor, in 2004, Newsom was the first in California to issue a same-sex marriage license, a decision that sparked the movements that led to same-sex marriage becoming legal across the country.
When the LGBTQ community serves his purpose, he's right by our side. And when we don't, he takes us and just tosses us under the bus.
Sid Ziegler is an editor for Outsports.com, a leading publication on LGBTQ plus issues in sports.
And they're legitimate questions. So I think that the fairness issue, it is absolutely an important one. And at the same time, that's not what's going on. Gavin Newsom wants to run for president. He wants to be president. And he is trying to win a handful of votes in Iowa so he can get the nomination. That's all this is about.
To be clear, the governor has not announced a run for president. Today, we did receive a statement from the LA LGBT Center that reads in part, quote, "We will not tolerate leaders who turn their backs on our community. We demand that Governor Newsom immediately apologize for the harm he has caused, meet with transgender advocates to educate himself on this important issue, and prove that he is aligned with the LGBTQ plus community and not Trump's hate mongering," end quote.
Hate-mongering. All right, salute. I didn't play this real quick, and I'm going to play another thing about Jasmine Crockett real quick. Al Green.
Folks are sitting there pushing, talking about abortion laws and all this kind of stuff. Which
she made a couple good points right here.
Plus, and then he said, however many illegals are here. He said, we need to give them legal status. And he said, because there's a certain group, a certain population in this country that's not producing children like they used to. He's talking about white folks. He's talking about this.
Damn. So is this really what this is all about? Is this? Are they trying to replace these people too? To get more white people on the census, to get more light-skinned people on these census? What's really going on? That's my question. What's really going on? Is this to get more light-skinned people in the census in America? They know that these Mexicans and these Latinos are having babies like a mug, and their population is ridiculously booming. So, what was really going on with this? What's the real agenda? I'm just asking. I don't know.
That's one of several agendas that you all need to keep in mind when they keep pushing this, and when you all keep scratching your head and wonder why are they doing this, baby. When you wonder why them folks are sitting there pushing, talking about abortion laws and all that kind of stuff, which of course we don't agree with. Many of us don't agree with. Watch this. But I'm just showing you the utter hypocrisy and the reason why they pushing it, because they numbers low. And they about to get up out of here organically. That's their motive behind it. You understand? And Chuck Schumer, one of the longest serving, high-ranking senators out of New York, told you exactly that. But he says, let's give them legal status. I want to read to you from this article from the American Immigration Council. I'm gonna see. I think we have that?
Why would you want that? Why would that be cool to just give them 11 million people? Like, why would you? Like, I can see if these people, American people everything was all good. You know what I'm saying? But that's my thing with that. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I'm kind of like confused about. You see what I'm saying? I don't know.
Link available for them here. Do we have that one? No. I'm gonna read to you this article. I think the one that we have available for you here is this article. There are many that are out there, but I'm just using this one to show you some of the benefits of why they're doing it. Of what happens when you legalize the illegals, right? 9 benefits of expunging your criminal record. Now, Foundation of Black Americans, we can prove in no limited time that the United States government created laws to entrap us in, to drive us back to slavery. Did you all know that? How many of you all know, for example, the loitering laws that were first brought into place, they had a racist origin as well. I don't know if some of you all knew that or not. What do I mean by that? When you study even what you call loitering or vagrancy laws, how many of y'all heard of that before? Well, I'm reading now from Facing History and Ourselves. I didn't provide this article, but I just want you to listen to me. It says here that the history of slave patrols, black codes, and vagrancy laws. The mini lesson provides a brief overview of the history of policing in the early United States and examines how laws and biased enforcement of those laws were used to control the lives of Black Americans in the South following the Civil War. One of the things that I pulled this particular piece up was it had to do with loitering, right? And what we call the vagrancy laws, right? Where in this piece, it specifically talks about, as I just mentioned before, I just gave you the subheading there. But one of the things it talks about is the reason why loitering laws were put in place. Why were loitering laws put in place? How many of you all, you can use your imagination and know this, to see this, the logic in the oppressor's mind, but these are just facts that you can research. After so-called freedom, after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, after the so-called freeing of chattel slaves, right? How many of you all know that our open enemy was looking for sneaky ways to drive us back to the plantation? They understood that they were not going to actually give the majority of us tangibles or reparations or the 40 acres and the mule and other similar tangibles, right? So that we can live our own lives outside of them. So what do? They rigged the system using laws. I'm going to say it again. They rigged the system using laws. Are y'all hearing me? So immediately after that, they imposed, among many other laws, what's known as vagrancy laws or loitering laws. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means that they made it illegal for Black folks to be hanging out somewhere. Now you see when you go into certain stores or, gas stations and stuff like that, you'll see no loitering, no hanging out. No, the origin of that baby had to do with no hanging out was because they knew that by making it illegal for you to hang out somewhere and not be quote unquote working, they made that a law so that they could get you back into prison. What did they end up doing? They used our prison labor. They created laws to entrap us. That was a net that they used to entrap us and pull us back on the plantation. Then they started a whole new system that was called convict leasing. That's why they call you a convict. They intentionally create laws that were outrageous and ridiculous, meant to entrap you so that they can use the laws as an excuse to put you back on the slave plantation.
Exactly. I'm telling you, through the prison pipeline, and also, you see what I'm saying, the recidivism rate. I mean, it's a couple of different things. You see what I'm saying? And then once they keep you locked up, they replace you with foreigners. That's how that works. I don't know. I don't understand why we don't understand this.
The slave plantation, but they would call it by another name. In this instance, it was called convict leasing, which meant that they would use prisoners' labor. And so they had contracts and deals that they would make with landowners and use your labor, convicting you first with the law of loitering or vagrancy. In modern times, how many of you all know that the disparity of crack cocaine? For those of you that don't know, the origin of crack came from the U.S. government. The government made a drug and intentionally flooded the Black communities with it. How they made the drug is they understood that the crack cocaine was mostly used later. They found this out mostly by Black folks in hoods and stuff in particular. And that white folks loved the powdered one where they would sniff at parties.
You're right. So I'm gonna end this right here. So if y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, let y'all know go on. You know what I'm saying? So I'll probably go back on Saturday. And other than that, man, I'm gonna holler back at y'all, man. All right, salute. Other than that, peace. All right. I'm gonna end this and I'm gonna finish this up. I might be the same topic, it might be similar, but I'm gonna finish. She is cooking. So salute, y'all. All right. I'm out.